So recently, I've been reading about the Mao era of China and the aftermath of it. Mao was the chairman of China in like the mid 1900s, and he did this cultural revolution that they called the Great Leap Forward. And a big consequence of that was that tens of millions of people died from famine. But as I was reading about it, the thing that caught my attention was the multi-generational aftermath of this famine. And I think the studies on this are so fascinating because it was so widespread, and the Chinese population is pretty prevalent today. There's a lot of people that did survive the famine and have had children and grandchildren, and some of which have left China and integrated to like new societies like Western societies. And this entire rabbit hole led me to this new word called epigenetic. It's basically when you inherit certain biological traits that are passed down from your ancestors as a direct result of them facing some significant environmental change in their lifetime. And this is different than just like genetic changes through evolution, right? Because evolution happens from hundreds, if not thousands of generations. It's a very slow process. But with epigenetic changes, something like a famine one generation ago or two generations ago has a significant impact on the behavior of your children and your grandchildren. So in the case of this Mao era, there were these epigenetic changes that were passed down from generation to generation, from survivors of this mass famine to their children or grandchildren who may have never experienced any form of scarcity in their life. And some of these effects are pretty significant. They range from metabolic health to schizophrenia, like mental disorders. Like it quite literally changed the survivor's brain chemistry enough to pass it on through biology. And obviously this event in particular is pretty well studied, but it made me think about how there might be other forms of like generational trauma that's passed on from children to children or from generation to generation. The other day, I was talking to my friend about our demons. And when I say our demons, I mean this looming subconscious thing that guides a lot of our life choices in a way that we might not even be aware of it. And so we were chatting about, what our demons could be. And he was really uncomfortable with the word, by the way. He's from a Buddhist background, and so his version of it is conditioning. So like conditioning of the mind. But anyways, let's stick with demons. So these demons are almost like buried under the fog of like mental clutter. A demon is just a personification of our insecurities, our habits that maybe we've picked up in childhood, or through our parents or through certain environments, things that we haven't consciously taken control of, but in a way guide our decision making. It could be through fears or resentment or impulses or other forms of insecurity. These demons kind of make us who we are when we don't take control of them. But I think everybody has their demons. And I used to think that when we're born into this world, we're born as a blank slate. And who we become, these insecurities, these fears, these habits that we pick up along the way are a reflection of our environments and maybe some bit of randomness in our experiences. But after reading more about these epigenetic changes that happen after the Mao era, it makes me wonder if we all are subject to more subtle forms of genetic demons that we haven't truly realized. I think when we think of like different forms of therapy that walk us through self-awareness, for example, it's all about going back into your childhood or certain memories that you're aware have had a significant emotional impact on you. But it's very rare that we take who we are, our thinking patterns, our fears, our insecurities, and relate that to the people that have come before us. I really don't say this to mean that there are things in your biology that you had no control over, therefore this is the way you are. I mean more of, if we're able to develop this sense of awareness of where our shortcomings come from and what they are, only then can we start to identify these demons in the fog. Because what use is it to live your life on autopilot, making these decisions that your mind is already conditioned to make? Because fighting these demons and going against the grain of these habits that you have built not by choice, but as a result of your environment or genetic code or randomness, but likely a combination of all three, why should it be those things that guide your day-to-day decision making in a way that you're not able to explain, and in a way that you're not able to recognize? I think we only truly start living life when we're able to break down our day-to-day habits, especially the ones that have stuck with us from the moment we were born.